Hey, you. Yeah, you. Welcome to the Malaka podcast. Norm MacDonald. I've always said this. Chances are, if you don't find Norm MacDonald funny, you're probably stupid. Now, what I mean by that is, Norm MacDonald is a very clever comedian. He's very smart. He doesn't come across as a stupid guy who does hokey jokes or weird impersonations. He's just himself for the most part. He goes on stage and that's pretty much him. I mean, I believe. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't really feel he's trying to, become a different person, a different persona, in interviews. He's just himself. And that's the problem with Hollywood and the whole acting world is that when you become a celebrity in this business, you almost have to morph yourself into a certain persona. You gotta play it up for the cameras and, make sure you don't say anything stupid or, put your own beliefs out there. And Norm MacDonald has just never given a fuck. I mean, he just goes out there and says whatever he wants. And that's not to say that he just says things just for shock value. I mean, this is his opinions for the most part. Recently, Norm MacDonald has caught a little shit promoting his new show. Norm MacDonald Has a Show on Netflix. And unfortunately, he's gotten to a little shit about his opinions on the hashtag #MeToo movement. My very first podcast was about the hashtag #MeToo movement. So subjects like that, you got to be very careful on how you come across. Well, to be honest with you, I mean, this PC world we live in, I always say it's getting to the point where we can't even say the word "the" without offending people. But yeah, he basically said this. I'm happy the hashtag #MeToo movement has slowed down a little bit. It used to be 100 women can't be lying. And then it became one woman can't lie. And that became, I believe, all women. And then you're like, what? Like, that Chris Hardwick guy, I really thought got the blunt end of the stick there. Now, Chris Hardwick is an actor that was accused by his girlfriend at the time, Chloe Dykstra, of emotional and sexual abuse. Now, I don't know much about this story. I just know that a lot of guys are getting hit with the hashtag #MeToo movement the past year. And I think what Norm MacDonald is just trying to say is, like anything that comes in this world, people will take advantage of it. And again, it's a very tricky subject. You don't know if a woman is making up a story. You don't know if she's, exaggerating a story. You don't know if it's true. I mean, it's a very difficult subject. It's just one of those subjects that it's almost it just shouldn't be touched, like, in many ways. I mean, like, guys were just afraid, like, even if guys mention the word, hashtag #MeToo, we will just automatically become bad guys. So I mean, I think he's just basically just saying, yeah, people will take advantage of any situation. It's like being in a workplace and, taking advantage of, someone else doing your work for you, or, just honestly, just anything in general, people will take advantage of. And, it's getting to a point where it's just really sad, and it sucks, And unfortunately, Norm MacDonald, I know, like I said before, is a really smart guy, and I'm sure he didn't mean it in bad way or anything, and it just came across as, just the wrong way. And unfortunately, he's had to apologize on a couple shows, and will this affect his career? Personally, I don't think so. I think it's one of those things where if you're a Norm Macdonald fan, I mean, you get what he's trying to say. If you don't understand, then, chances are you didn't like him anyway. A lot of people might be, Norm Macdonald, who? Me, I know who Norm Macdonald is. I follow stand-up comedians, since I was a kid, and Norm Macdonald to me has always been one of my faves. So personally, I don't think this is going to affect his career, and but unfortunately, if you're this, old school comedian, which I feel Norm Macdonald is at this point. It's not like he's just started out the last like 5-10 years, and he's had to put up with the PC movement. I mean, like, everyone has to, unfortunately, now, but it's just certain people just don't want to change their freedom of speech, and that's what comedy is. And that's why Norm Macdonald has always been kind of like an outsider to this business, in the sense where, he's just always said what's on his mind, and, people in this business don't like that. And, he's never been like a big A-lister, and I think he's cool with that. Some people are just not meant for this business. And I don't mean that in a bad way, in the sense, okay, they're not funny, and, they can't make it as an entertainer in this business, but some people just don't follow the rules. Like a lot of actors and comedians, or whoever in this business, musicians, whatever, they'll listen to their publicists and their agents, and they're highly influenced by these people. Like, as far as I've seen, Norm Macdonald has always just stuck to his guns, and he's just always Norm Macdonald, and God bless him for that. Because we need more people like that. They say when a stand-up comedian is on stage, he should be able to say whatever he wants. And I'm one of these people that I honestly believe in that 100%. And Norm Macdonald might be one of the most famous comedians that has ever done that. And he's done it extremely well. And 20 years from now, he's still going to be the same person. Even back earlier in his career, he started doing stand-up in the late 1980s. He would do the clubs, in Ottawa, and he made his first like major appearance in the 1987 Just for Laughs Comedy Festival in Montreal. A lot of people don't know that Norm Macdonald is Canadian. And he's always had this kind of, like, like, kind of like slur, like, in his voice. And like, people always like think he's on drugs or he's a drinker. It's just the way he is. I mean, I don't know. Like, I know a couple Canadians that actually talk like that. And like, maybe it's a certain accent, or maybe it's just Norm not giving a fuck. I don't know what it is, but he's, as far as I know, he's never been a drug user or a drinker. I mean, he's just he's just Norm Macdonald. I didn't know this. He actually has a brother named Neil MacDonald, who's a journalist with the CBC News. Now, the CBC News is a very popular news department in Canada, and it's kind of like the Canada's version of NBC, I guess. I mean, that's the best way I could describe it. Both his parents, Percy and Fern, were teachers. Now, I always find that kind of interesting because, if you're a teacher, you're sitting in front of a class, it could be 10, 20, 30 people, who knows, maybe more. And, maybe Norm saw this as a way of getting attention. I mean, like when you're a stand-up comedian, you're on stage, you're performing in front of people. Same thing with teachers. I mean, you're performing. You're except you got to make sure people are gonna pass your course, of course. But did I just say of course twice? Okay. But anyways, so maybe he kind of played off that, and maybe that kind of inspired him to be a stand-up comedian. Norm MacDonald, earlier in his career, he did start off as a writer for Roseanne, which to this day is still one of the best sitcoms of all time, so makes a lot of sense why he was on there. I'm sure he was putting in a lot of his 2 cents, and recently I just saw him in his new show, and he made a very good point. Like, I never thought of this before, but he says, like, when you write for a sitcom, the characters don't change. It's like, okay, Roseanne has to act like Roseanne, Dan has to act like Dan. It just, like, the people don't really change, Although the only show I could really think of where a person really dramatically changed was in Sopranos. I mean, if you watch Tony Soprano in the first season compared to the last one, I mean, he just, wilted like a plant. I mean, he just got worse and worse. But, and then he said, like, in a movie, a character has to have an arc, start off somewhere, then build up, and then, they have to change, and then they, have to get better, maybe they get worse, and something happens to them, and whatever. So I find that very interesting. I like, again, it just shows like Norm Macdonald gets it. Like, he gets how a good show is written, and that's I'm sure that's why Roseanne was such a big hit. After that, Norm Macdonald did Saturday Night Live, which probably most people know him from. He did some shows before that. He's done some movies, of course. But Saturday Night Live, yeah, that's where he really, got his recognition, for sure. I mean, it was just, yeah. He would, do certain characters like Letterman and Quentin Tarantino and Bob Dole and Larry King. His most memorable character by far is when he did Burt Reynolds on Celebrity Jeopardy. And I heard recently he was one of the main reasons why that skit got so popular, and like why they started it. Basically what happened was he was a cast member at the time on Saturday Night Live, and Martin Short was going to host it. And of course, like any comedic legend, anybody that follows comedy, that loves comedy, was a big fan of SCTV. And for those of you who have never heard of SCTV, I just feel sorry for you. It doesn't matter if you're 60 or 10 years old. After you're done listening to this podcast, go do your research. It's one of the funniest sketch shows of all time. It's a Canadian-based sketch show which stars lots of funny people. Catherine O'Hara, Eugene Levy, John Candy, tons more. I could go on. It's just hilarious. It's a shame it only lasted 3 seasons, but anyways. So he was Martin Short was about to host, and Norm Macdonald always liked this one sketch they did on SCTV. It was something to do with Jeopardy. I forgot what it was called. I don't know. It was like Moron Jeopardy or something like that. And he said to Martin Short, "Listen, I would love to, make fun of this on Saturday Night Live." He's like, "Yeah, sure." So he got Will Ferrell to do Alex Trebek, which I believe the real Alex Trebek actually showed up on SCTV for that sketch a couple times, I think. And yeah, so you got Will Ferrell as Alex Trebek. You got Daryl Hammond, who does obviously a great Sean Connery. You got Martin Short playing Jerry Lewis. Yeah, enough said. And then you got Norm Macdonald playing Burt Reynolds. And like him playing Burt Reynolds is just basically him doing Smokey and the Bandit impersonation. You know, he just had, just like whatever, the cowboy hat, and it was just basically Norm Macdonald doing a shitty version of Burt Reynolds. And it's probably one of the most famous sketches they've ever done on Saturday Night Live. I mean, he showed up on the 40th anniversary show, and it's just, like for sure that's probably the main character he'll always be known for on Saturday Night Live. And then they realized, Norm Macdonald's just funny just the way he is, so, he's just very naturally funny, and, just the way he carries himself, with the smart ass remarks and all that. And then they put him on the news by himself. And a lot of people didn't like him on the news. I loved him. I thought he was the funniest guy since Chevy Chase to do it. And even Chevy Chase said the only guy that's done it right so far since I left was Norm Macdonald. And he would do a lot of jokes, about OJ and and Don Allmeyer, who was like an executive producer or something, or part owner of Saturday Night Live, or I don't know, or something like that, part of NBC, whatever. He would tell him and Lorne Michaels, like, look, OJ's a good friend of mine, and please don't make fun of him, And let me just tell something to people right now. If you tell a comedian or a comic or just someone who just gets laughs for a living, if you tell them not to do something, you can bet everything you own that they can't wait till after you're done talking, they're going to do it. I mean, that's like the worst thing you can do to someone, that's a comedian or stand-up, whatever, is tell them don't talk about something, because like even a stubborn person like me, if you tell me not to do something, I can't wait to do it. So, I mean, that's, of course, Norm Macdonald's, I'll be like, yeah, sure, whatever, yeah, okay, right. And that's my Norm Macdonald, by the way. So he kept doing it, and that's what basically cost him his job on Saturday Night Live. And at the time, I think he was by far the funniest person on there. I mean, Will Ferrell was on there, but, Will Ferrell wasn't Will Ferrell yet. He wasn't, the old school or the guy showing up in an American thong in an office setting in a sketch, that we've all grown up to love. He wasn't quite there yet. And, he was more known at the time for doing the whole cheerleading thing, whatever. And, Norm Macdonald was by far the funniest person on there. So everyone's like wondering, like, why the fuck would you fire like the only funny person on there? I mean, at times, I would just like to tune in for the news because it was by far the funniest thing on there. So, that story came out way later, and, what was it, a couple years later, about a year and a half, 2 years later, Norm Macdonald was asked to host Saturday Night Live, and he probably gave one of the funniest monologues ever done on Saturday Night Live. I'm paraphrasing here, but, he was just basically talking about how, I used to be on this show. And, for a year and a half, I didn't do much. And then, they asked me to come host again. So it's like, okay, so, wait a minute. How come I wasn't funny a year and a half ago, and all of a sudden I'm funny? And then he said, I realized what happened. I haven't gotten funnier. The show has gotten way worse. So, I mean, that was his payback, and he would say, yeah, 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 because they try to, do some funny sketches, and you'll see later, and you know, yeah. So I mean, he got back his little revenge there, and I thought that was pretty sweet. I heard a rumor though that apparently after that monologue, there was a chance. Yeah, I mean, it was probably a very slim chance, but I heard that after he did the monologue, he just wanted to go downstairs, get into a cab, and get the fuck out of there. And I mean, if he did that, that would have been, I mean, that would have been legendary. I mean, like, I don't think he'd be working in this business anymore. But yeah, that's what I heard. So, but he didn't do it, and he just did his skits, and I remember at the time the Dr. Dre album 2001 came out, and I thought it was funny. Like he just introduced like he's like yeah, ladies and he's a Dr. Dre and Snoop Dogg, and then like he turns around, and he goes, "Hey, you guys ready? You guys you guys good? Okay, all right. Here's Dr. Dre's Snoop Doggy Dogg." So it's just Norm being Norm, man. I mean, that's like again, that's what people don't understand about Norm Macdonald. I mean, like he like he's one of these guys. Yeah, like if you fuck with him, for sure, he's gonna get you back, for sure. But but for the most part, he just does things for fun because he's just him. Actually, another great story on Saturday Night Live when he was a cast member. Him and Chris Kattan apparently didn't get along. If you don't know who Chris Kattan is, he was the one dude that did the Monkey Boy, whatever. Always eat the apple in the weird way, whatever. But then he was one half of the two guys, and him and Farrell did the dance dudes. I don't know. The night at the Roxbury, what is love, love, baby, don't hurt me, that shit. And apparently they didn't get along, and there was an episode where like Pamela Anderson was hosting, and like Chris Kattan, I don't know. Again, Chris Kattan, I don't know what your sexual preferences, whatever. It's cool, man. The point is, he was coming on really hard to Pamela Anderson. Oh my God, you're so beautiful, all that shit, whatever. And they were about to do a sketch where it was a Twilight Zone, and Norm Macdonald was going to do Rod Serling. And in the beginning, you rehearse your lines, whatever, and he wasn't doing Rod like very, seriously. He was just reading the lines like, imagine if you will. And then like Chris Kattan thought, oh my God, Norm, you're not even trying, he's calling him out in front of all the cast members and the crew and the audience, and and Jim Brewer is actually like in the background there, and he's thinking to himself like why isn't Norm responding? Like, what's going on here? If you know who Jim Brewer is, Jim Brewer was also a cast member on Saturday Night Live. To me, he'll always be a legend because he's the one that brought out Joe Pesci and Robert De Niro in his famous sketch, The Joe Pesci Show. So and so that alone, he's a legend. That and Go Boy always made me laugh. Anyways. So yeah, he's wondering like, what the fuck, Norm? I mean, like he's not doing anything back. So the day of the taping, or like when they're about to go live, again, Chris Kattan is going, don't screw this up, Norm, whatever, and and then Norm Macdonald again's not saying anything, and they're like, okay, 30 seconds to taping, 25 seconds to taping, 20 seconds to taping, 15 seconds to taping. And then all of a sudden, Norm Macdonald, in front of everybody, in front of the cast, crew, the stage people, the audience, he just goes, yeah, what's up with Chris Kattan there? He seems like, I don't know, doesn't he seem kind of gay? I mean, like like he tries to act all straight and everything, but I don't know. He kind of acts like really gay. 10 seconds, yeah, and I don't know. Do people, like really actually buy that? He's actually straight. Because he acts really gay. 3 seconds. 3, 2, 1. Imagine if you will. And then he just gets into that voice, and like again, like Norm Macdonald just gets in his revenge right at the end there. So, and what's funny, like you ever a chance to see that sketch online, it shows like Jim Brewer's in that sketch, and there's like two doctors on the left, two doctors on the right of the bed, and you can see Jim Brewer, like his shoulders are kind of going up and down, and he's still laughing at what just happened. So it's pretty funny to see that. So. But Norm Macdonald, like again, like he's just the master. Like I've always been told that the last person you want to get into an argument with is a comedian, because they just don't back down. I mean, maybe they can't beat your ass physically, but mentally they will destroy you. So again, Norm Macdonald is a great example of that. Now, like I said before, Don Allmeyer, didn't like him. He fired him. A lot of people always say Lorne Michaels got the blame of that. Lorne Michaels had nothing to do with it. It was more Don Allmeyer. He didn't like him. So after that, Norm Macdonald, he did a couple movies here and there. Nothing really too memorable, just always little guest spots here and there on shows. Me personally, I love the fact that he did a little movie called Dirty Work. Now, if you've never seen this movie, again, go see this movie. It stars him, Artie Lang, Chevy Chase, a bunch of other people in there. It's actually Chris Farley's last movie too. He doesn't have like a big role in it. He shows in there a couple scenes, but he's funny as fuck. Like he always is. And it's a really funny movie. It's basically about like two guys who start a revenge for hire business. Now, again, it sounds stupid, but it's really funny. If you're a fan of Norm Macdonald, I suggest you go see it. What's funny is too, like a lot of people always forget that Norm Macdonald did a movie with Dave Chappelle called Screwed, and I don't know. It's like, really, he did a movie with Dave Chappelle? Yeah, I had no idea. But again, it didn't do well. I mean, Dirty Work didn't do well either. But then Norm Macdonald always, he's always asked, oh, like, are you, I mean, do you feel bad that the movie did, so poorly at the box office? And then Norm Macdonald always had a good answer. He goes, "What do you mean? It made over $1 million." Yeah, so. But I suggest you check out Dirty Work. It's a really funny movie. Yes, I'm sure you'll find it somewhere. Who knows? It's somewhere. It's a really funny movie. Trust me. Jack Warden is also in the movie. He plays Artie Lang's father. He was also in a couple episodes of The Twilight Zone, so I don't know, it seems to be a Twilight Zone themed kind of day for some reason. But again, it's a really funny movie. Check it out. Again, like I said before, since then he's done a couple movies and shows and stuff like that. One funny thing he did a couple years ago, he was part of the Bob Saget roast, and he just goes on there and like he just did like a weird thing where he would just tell like these jokes that were probably funny in like I don't know 19 or something, and like he would say something like I don't even know. Like I'm paraphrasing here. He said something like, Bob Saget, say like a lot of people, say that your comedy is, flown the coop. Ladies and gentlemen, this guy's for the birds. And there'd be like just silence, and nobody would like say anything, and like people were just like laughing, like it was just Norm being a dick, and but like again, that's. You got to do stuff in this business to stand out. Like even if it's not that funny, like if you could do something that's just like cheesy and whatever, just just do it. Who cares? I mean, if it doesn't land, whatever, you learn from it, you know. But Norm Macdonald has just mastered that, art of, shitty joke and prickiness. And if you just put them together, it just comes together so beautifully. Like it really does. Like it's just one of those things you just have to see for yourself, and you'll know what I mean. But unfortunately, Norm Macdonald has tried to do a couple more shows. I mean, he had the Norm show for a while. That was okay. It lasted like, I think, 3-4 seasons. He did another show, Stan Hooper. I don't know. And then like years later, he did a show kind of based on the whole thing he did on Saturday Night Live there with the news, and said it was with sports. Now I thought that was pretty good, but again, it didn't last more than a season, and since then he's just been up and down with his career, popping in like an Adam Sandler movie here and there, and doing some stand up, and he was a judge on Last Comic Standing with Roseanne Barr and Keaton and Ivy Waynes, for a little bit. He apparently did those KFC commercials where he was Colonel Sanders for a while. I'm sure he got some good money on that. And just that's it. And just recently, he got a new deal on Netflix. They gave him 10 episodes, a new talk show. I forgot to mention. It's basically it's very similar to like kind of like the podcast show he did. The video podcast show. Just interviewed people. Similar to that. And now it's on Netflix basically, and it's called Norm Macdonald Has a Show, hosted by Norm Macdonald. And I don't know. So far, so good. I've watched like half the season. Interviews people like David Spade, Drew Barrymore, it's pretty good. It's just Norm being Norm. There's nothing more I could say to that. If you love Norm Macdonald, if you love the way he is, you'll be very happy with the show. He said something funny. I don't know. He was talking to Drew Barrymore, and Drew Barrymore told Norm Macdonald that, I think acting. And then Norm Macdonald said, actors look on me like vampires look on Count Chocula. Which I think is just really clever. He's basically saying that, actors recognize him as a performer, but they don't take him as one of them, but they recognize what he's trying to do. And that's my point with Norm Macdonald. He's so clever. I don't know what his IQ is. It's got to be up there for sure, but he gets comedy. There's not a lot of people that really get comedy. And one of the last episodes of David Letterman, and a lot of people don't know this, but Norm Macdonald is a huge fan of David Letterman. If anything, he's one of the consultants on his new show, David Letterman to the Norm Macdonald Has a Show. And after he did his stand-up on one of the last episodes of David Letterman, he just, he was almost in tears. And, it shocked a lot of people, because a lot of people thought Norm Macdonald was this cold-hearted dude and, didn't give a shit about anybody. But he cares a lot about this business. Norm Macdonald, back in the day, he said that his biggest accomplishment would be if one day he could be a stand-up comedian on the David Letterman show. And he did that. And, Letterman always, admired and still does admire Norm Macdonald, and, vice versa. And you could tell they got a really good rapport. It's like they both think alike, and You know, it's just really nice to see that. Like it was actually really sweet to see like Norm Macdonald, like, basically just almost in tears. I mean, it showed that there's another side to him, and he actually does give a shit about this business. Like a lot of people don't think that of him, but he really does. And I think that's what a lot of people misconstrued about Norm Macdonald is that they don't think that he cares this much about this business. If you think about it, he's been doing this since the late 80s, like I said, and he's still relevant today. Now, is he a big A-lister? No. Will he ever achieve his like really big celebrity status? I mean, I don't know. I mean, who knows? Who cares? I don't think Norm Macdonald cares. You know. And if you're a real fan of Norm Macdonald, you don't care either, because either way, you're still going to listen to what he says. And whenever he's got a show on or stand up or whatever, you will be there, because if you understand Norm Macdonald and his comedy, you get comedy. You understand what he's trying to achieve. He's not trying to piss you off or make you angry. Like, in the end, he's there to make you laugh. And that's what any great comic does. Probably my favorite Norm Macdonald quote, and I heard him say this recently. He said, it's very easy to make someone laugh, but it's very hard to make someone smile. And I think that's very important to remember. And I'd just like to say thank you very much for all the laughs and for all the great times and for just continuing to make me laugh over the years. Thank you very much, Norm Macdonald.